This is Gerardo Del Real with Resource Stock Digest. Joining me today is the CEO of Empress Royalty, Miss Alexandra Woodyear Sherron. Alex, how are you today? It's an absolute pleasure to have you on.
I am doing great, and it is so wonderful to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, listen, let's get right into it. And this intro is going to be a bit long. When I started digging into the Empress story, I loved the diversification in the portfolio. I really loved the fact that your shareholder base boasts some of the most influential names in our space, right? We have a gentleman that needs no introduction, Mr. Rick Rule. We have Stephen Gleason, the CEO of Money and Metals Exchange. And then when I started digging into the team and I started digging into where you were with the business model, I thought with gold near record highs and silver, due to overperform, and you focus specifically on those two, I thought the timing would be perfect to have you on. So thank you so much for joining me.
Very, very excited to be here. And the timing is beautiful. We just put our year-end financials last night.
Well, let's start there. And then right after that, I'd love to dig into the team. I mean, you have a top-notch team. Your background is storied, of course, Mr. David Rhodes, and we'll get into that. But let's talk about the news, because you just achieved something that doesn't usually happen very often in our business, right? We're in a space where everybody kind of works really, really hard for a very long time in hopes of being able to put together a company that is cash flow positive. And here you are starting 2025. Seems like the sweet spot.
It absolutely is. And we launched Empress, and I can give you more background on the sort of business strategy behind it. But we launched it in December 2020, and we had a concept. We've now proven that concept out, and that was to invest in assets that would generate significant revenue for Empress. And I am so happy to announce that we put financials last night, and we surpassed our annual revenue projection by 25%. We generated $8 million US in revenue for 2024, which is about 2.2 times higher than our revenue for 2023. So we definitely, we doubled our revenue in 2023, and we've now more than doubled our revenue for 2024.
I have to believe that execution, right, is what has allowed you to put together such a strong shareholder base. I mentioned some of the names there, but just a spectacular team, right? You have a history of raising, and I want to touch on your experience here first. Over $1.5 billion in deals before for Endeavor. Obviously, Mr. David Rhodes, also from Endeavor Financial, has secured and arranged over $10 billion of funding for companies across the globe. When you see those numbers getting thrown around and that level of capital markets experience, that's got to be attractive to the Rick Rules of the world and some of the shareholders that you've been able to attract to a relatively new company.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I started out in mining in '97, just after BRIAC. So everyone was leaving. I was at the accounting at PwC. Everyone's jumping off the floor, going down to the .com. Stuck with mining. So I've seen a lot of different cycles. Then I joined Endeavor Financial as an analyst, and we had a natural resource fund back in the day. I moved over to London, became director of structured finance, worked closely with David Rhodes, who had been at Barclays Bank and Standard Bank previously, across the table from us. And then he came in as a managing director of Endeavor Financial. So we worked together quite closely for a long period of time. And the whole concept of Empress, and a lot of the team is ex Endeavor Financial, is that we were seeing that the streaming companies were doing bigger and bigger investment sizes, like Wheaton $100 million plus, and no one was providing that direct finance solution to mining companies, helping them get in production or expand production, sub 25 million. So that's why we set up Empress. And that was the concept, was to do it, and now we're proving it out. So it's a pretty exciting time. Along the way, as we've done this, one of the founders as well was Jeremy Bond from Terra Capital Resources, which is a natural resource fund in Australia. Endeavor and David and myself own 25% of the company. And as we've grown the company and taking it from initial concept and proving it out over the last couple of years, we've had some amazing supportive shareholders. We've got obviously Rick Rule. We did a placement for him in 2022 to get him into the position at Empress. We've got Stephen Gleason, who bought in the market when he understood our business strategy and how we were deploying our capital into generating real gold and silver credits. We've had Frank Holmes, who's been a shareholder and supporter through US Global from the beginning. Maria Smirnova from Swire Asset Management. just to mention a few. So we've got a lot of support from some well-established, I think, people with excellent reputations in the industry, and I'm very proud of our supportive shareholder base.
Well, listen, let's talk about the name of the game in our business, right? Everybody that looks at companies is looking to make some money. And then, in a gold bull market, in a precious metals bull market, sure, it's going to be a fun run. But first and foremost, you have to mitigate risk, right? And I really love the royalty and stream model because of the way that it mitigates risk right off the bat. For those that are not as familiar with the business model, can you speak to why royalties and streams are the preferred route that you've chosen to take with Empress?
Yeah. So I'll break it into a couple pieces. I'll talk about what a royalty, what a stream is. I'll talk about the different types of royalty and streaming companies and kind of explain how Empress is a little bit different from some of them. But so a royalty is where a company, you invest in a company and you receive a percentage of revenue from the production. It's kind of like a record deal. And there's a lot of companies out there that buy those existing royalties or the royalties. And it's a 30-page agreement. Essentially, it's top line dollars. So there's no effect of the operating costs or capital costs required to build the mine. You're just taking pure percentage of production. Then there's the streaming companies, which is what we mostly do. And that is, a much more complex structure. We take they're asset-backed investments. We take security over the assets. And we are essentially pre-buying a percentage of gold or silver at a deeply discounted price. We're getting an 80% discount, which means we're paying 20% of spot. So we're getting that direct gold and silver credit coming into our bank account or into our metals account. So I like it because we're much more tied directly to gold and silver. We don't have the operating and the capital costs of typical mining companies, and we're taking it at the top line. So we're not affected by as mentioned, not affected by those costs.
And I want to be absolutely clear. The focus is just on gold and silver right now, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So commodity-wise, we are only gold and silver. We are truly pure gold and silver. We're not mixing anything else in there. We won't be mixing anything else in there. It's direct exposure to gold and silver. Part of when you look at the sector, and the royalty and streaming companies, have typically outperformed the price of gold and the gold miners ETF. So it's definitely a great place to invest if you're looking to invest in the natural resource sector. But there's different types. There's the prospect generators, early stage and expensive to acquire. There's long lead time to revenue if in fact it does turn to a mine. There are some great success stories out there with that business model, but it's patiently capital is deployed there. And then there's a bunch of people buying existing royalties, buying third-party royalties. And the problem with that, typically you're not getting it's competitive, so you're not getting a great rate on those ones. There's no direct relationship with the company. At Empress, we are on the creation side. So we directly invest our cash into mining companies, helping them get either into production or expand upon the production capacity. And as a result of that, we are able to go to site. I was just at 2 of our projects in Africa a couple of weeks back. We have boots on the ground. We get monthly reporting. We understand their annual budgets. We're close to the management teams. We can work with them through whatever challenges they have. So that is why I like our approach, is that the money is directly that we invest is going straight into getting things into production or close to production.
Excellent. Look, as a shareholder, I'll tell you another thing that I really like is the jurisdiction diversification, right? That's becoming increasingly important. And, you're off to a heck of a start. And I got to believe with the experience you and the team have that the pipeline here in 2025 to grow the asset base, you probably got some pretty good options. But before we get to that part, I definitely want to touch on the portfolio as it's currently constructed, right? That's delivering those great results that you just mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll walk you through the portfolio, and it does kind of articulate well the kind of investments we're looking to bring to the portfolio will be similar to what we've done to date. So starting off in the Americas, we have the Talahueto mine, which is in Durango, Mexico, owned by Luca Mining. This one we structured as a silver stream, so we get 100% of the silver up to 1.25 million ounces, and then there's a step down after that. We invested initially $5 million into this. It was a development stage asset. It's now in production. We generated the revenue for 2024 was about $3.8 million. And we've generated close to $4.2 million cumulatively since our initial investment. So this probably is roughly about a third of our cash flow coming, our revenue coming in, which is obviously pure silver exposure. Then we have the Cerro Antiquite project in Peru. We invested $10 million. Cumulative to date since the initial investment, close to $5 million US. This was a producing asset owned by a private company called Sierra Sun. The mine was owned by Buenaventura, and then it was purchased in 2016 by Sierra Sun. Over 1 million ounces have been produced to date. This money was helping the expansion, so this has been a very successful investment for us as well. The other one we have in Mozambique, we invested when it was development assets called Manica, owned by a private group called MMP. This one, since we've invested, we've already cumulatively since investment, we've received close to $4.2 million of our revenue for 2024. It's about $2 million. This initially had a 3-year mine life. We invested 3 years ago. So this one, they picked up some new concessions, which I just was visiting when I was there a couple weeks ago and seeing the potential there. So that's been a fantastic investment, great management team that was well known to us for a long time. And then in 2024, we invested into the Galaxy mine in South Africa, which is owned by a great group called Golconda. This one, they needed additional capital, $5 million, to buy some additional underground equipment and open up some new phases to feed the plant. That's starting to happen now. So we're very excited about the growth that's going to happen in 2025. So, with the portfolio, in 2024, it's about 1.6 from Cerro Antiquite. Manica was about 2.2, Telereto, close to $3.8 million, $500,000 for Galaxy. That's about $8 million in revenue. In 2025, we're expecting to double our revenue, and that's with Telereto and Galaxy both increasing their production. So it's going to be hopefully another very exciting year for us. And that's just from our initial 4 investments that are currently in the portfolio.
You stole the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say, and we're talking just those assets that are currently in the portfolio. We're not looking ahead, and I'm going to. We're not looking ahead at potential new streaming opportunities. I couldn't help but notice that you had a release here a couple of weeks back saying that you're in advanced discussions for a potential gold and silver stream opportunity on an operating mine located here in the U.S. Can you speak to your approach in 2025?
I can't speak to that one, but our approach is to increase the number of investments in the portfolio.
Tried.
Yeah, I know. Nice try. Everyone gets the same information. But no, jokes aside, we really are very focused on growing the portfolio. We have $20 million available through our debt provider, Nabari, to deploy into new investments. We're cash flow positive, as our financials last night just said. We achieved a positive cash flow from operations of $3.5 million US. So we are going to be actively looking to grow the portfolio. We were advanced on several investment opportunities last fall that for various reasons didn't come into the portfolio. The one that was in the US, obviously, I'm quite excited about by putting the press release out. We will continue to focus on the Americas and Africa, pure gold and silver investment size. Right now, for us, a sweet spot sort of 5 to 10 million, going up to 25 as we grow the portfolio out. I think it's probably important to note, like the what we go through in terms of due diligence to get these deals done. Because we're not buying existing royalties, we're really hands-on. We're very active investors. We're not passive investors. And that starts from the very beginning. When we find the opportunity, we're directly talking with a company. We're working out what their current goals are, what their future goals are. We do management and people is key number one. We usually have multiple touch points within the management and the board through our network, through Endeavour Financial and our management boards, with multiple connection points to the management team, which is key, as people drive everything in our industry, and cash and people. And then, we do a technical review, which is led by our technical advisor, David Lang, who's been in the business for over 40 years. He was chairman of Fortuna. He was the CEO of Endeavour Mining, of Equinox. He's been involved with Endeavour Financial for a very long time as well. So he does our initial desktop review with support of Endeavour Financial. If we like what we see, we'll offer terms. If we can get to agreed terms, we then move into extensive due diligence process. That's going to site, hiring the right third-party engineers to understand the geology, the mineralization, the mining process, the country, the jurisdictional risks. We do extensive legal duties, ESG review, tax review, financial review. If we get through all of that, it gets into documentation. If we still agree on terms, then it turns into an investment. We have been patiently deploying our capital, as we're all large shareholders in this company, especially at the point where we've hit now, where we have 4 stable sources of revenue. We're going to look to grow it, and that was very much a key milestone for us, was getting these 4 initial investments into stable revenue, and our financials as of last night have proven that for 2024.
Well, listen, I love it when management and the board has skin in the game. I believe between the board and the management, you own something like 25% of outstanding shares. Is that accurate?
Yes, it is.
Wonderful. And then the last thing that I really, really love is when you're trading at a discount. And I know you probably don't love that right now, but just looking at it as a speculator and someone that's looking to allocate capital in the space, I love when a well-run company with a deep experience board and capital markets experience is trading at a pretty significant discount, even to your peers, right? And that's with record high gold prices. It leaves a lot of runway here in 2025. Anything to add to that? It's been an absolute pleasure, by the way. We absolutely have to do this more often.
Absolutely. No, I mean, if you just take and again, all my numbers that I talk about, I'm using in the forecasting forward, I'm using $2,500 gold and $30 silver. So there's obviously a lot more upside just based upon commodity prices. But, we're forecasting, next year to double revenue, so say $15 million, $16 million in revenue. If you take the price to cash flow for 2025 ratio across the sector, it's about 25 times. Even if you just take 10 times Empress, what we're forecasting for next year, you can see how we have potential for a significant re-rate.
Love it. Love it. It's been a pleasure. Let's do this again here, hopefully soon. And I suspect 2025 is going to be a busy one for the team.
It is indeed. Very excited. Thank you, Jordan, so much for the time. It was an absolute pleasure speaking with you.
No, same. Thank you so much. Hey everybody, Gerardo Del Real here. If you're enjoying the content that you just saw, you can let us know in 3 simple steps. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and please share across your network and on social media. Take care, everybody.